Hello everyone. Today I've got 3 more amazing indie horror books for you guys to check out. You know me, I love indie horror. There are so many great authors and just terrifying stories waiting to be discovered that don't get the love they deserve. And so whenever I find something like this, I am more than happy to let you guys know about them. And hopefully you want to pick all of these up because I think they are all worthy of your money and your attention. And before we get started, I want to remind you that I have horror books for sale, and you can find the books you see on your screen at the link in the description. They are only $1 each. And don't forget to pick up your Read More Horror t-shirt. There's also a link down below for that. Many colors and sizes available, so be sure to check it out. All right, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about today is called Heavy Oceans by Tyler Jones. I found this one on NetGalley. It is coming out next month. There is a pre-order link in the description. But this is a really fantastic cosmic horror book. But it's set in the middle of an ocean on a boat. And it's about 2 brothers who grew up and were suffering together with some trauma and some abuse. The older brother has always been kind of a sleepwalker, and even in the very first chapter, something's going to happen during one of his episodes that really is going to set up this story nicely. The author did a great job with that. He gives you this first chapter, something's going to happen at the end of that, and then he kind of switches gears a little bit before rounding back to it later on. So that first chapter is important. But after this incident happened in the first chapter, we fast forward years later, and the younger brother is in Hawaii, where his older brother now lives. They've been estranged kind of for a while. Their relationship has not always been solid because of this abuse they suffered together when they were children. They kind of went different paths, different ways, trying to each deal with it in their own way. And sometimes the ways they each chose to deal with it conflicts with the others. But the younger brother is going through something right now with his wife, and he decides to head to Hawaii and hang out with his big bro for a while. And one night they're going to leave a bar in the early morning, and something horrible is going to happen. Something that's going to change the course of their life. To try to hide what they did, they hire our friend's dad, who has a boat. They set sail for the middle of the ocean, away from prying eyes. They're trying to cover up this little problem that they've created. And that's where the true terror begins. There's an anomaly they see out in the middle of the ocean, far away from any shoreline. And it kind of pulls them in, and man, and then this book just explodes with these eldritch horrors. These creatures they're both great and small. They are thin and they are big. They have teeth and claws, and all they want to do is rip and tear and eat human flesh. They are on a mission of sorts for some reason, attacking these 4 men in this boat in the middle of the ocean, and they will not stop until they get whatever it is they came for. The 2 other men on the boat are a friend and his friend's dad, who owns the boat, and conflicts are going to arise within this group, because you got to understand, all this is going on. Everybody is freaking out. Nobody knows how to deal with this, and yet they're blaming each other, I guess you can say. It's very claustrophobic on that boat, of course, which is one thing I really love about the setting of this book, because it is claustrophobic. You are in the middle of the ocean. You have nowhere to go. If the creatures don't get you, your boat could sink and you're going to wind up dead and in one of their bellies anyway. And so they start blaming each other and getting certain tensions are going to happen. That makes you think perhaps they're in danger from each other more than these creatures. But the creatures are absolutely horrifying, and the way this author deals with this relationship between the brothers is right at the crux of the whole thing. Throughout this nightmarish situation they find themselves in, and it is just fantastic. It's not a long book at all. I believe it's a novella, maybe a longer novella, or you can call it a shorter novel, I guess. But it doesn't have to be, and that's another thing I liked, is that this author didn't take anything away from the narrative by trying to be over descriptive or trying to add to his word count or anything like that. He gets things going, like I said, with that little mystery at the end of the first chapter, and then it just keeps going, and it was just fantastic. I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend it to you. Again, the pre-order is in the description. And next we have The Handyman Method by Andrew Sullivan and Nick Cutter. Oh man, if let's say a show like Home Improvement or Bob Vila's This Old House was reimagined by H.P. Lovecraft and John Waters, this would be the book you would get. Because we are going to delve deep into the horrific world of home improvement. When a family buys a house at an incredible price, they think their lives are going to improve, of course. They think they found the deal of the century, and they can't wait to move in. And immediately the husband becomes obsessed with this house because everything inside is brand new. It's the first house in what's going to be a development, but there's nothing around them for miles because this is the only house that's been built so far. And everything is brand new, everything is shiny, everything is beautiful, or so they think. And he becomes obsessed with keeping it that way. And when he first goes up to his bedroom, he finds a crack in the closet, and he just gets pissed off about that because this is a brand new house. He's paid all this money, and he doesn't want anybody screwing him around with shoddy workmanship. He's not a handyman himself, but he decides he's going to give it a go. He's going to save all the money he can by doing these things himself. And that's where he discovers on YouTube a handyman who has his own channel there, old Hank, Handyman Hank. And Hank seems to know what he's talking about. But Hank's going to get more and more intrusive as this book goes along. We're going to find out that Hank is not just a YouTube channel. Hank is going to start giving life lessons away from home improvement about what it means to be a man. He's almost like a mixture of all the traits of toxic masculinity that you would see. You know, he's going to tell people, you got to stick up for yourself, man. You got to put the woman in her place. Don't let your kid talk back to you like that. I'd backhand him if I were you. I mean, he's just putting all this stuff in this man's head. And the thing is, pretty soon he doesn't even need his computer or his phone on to hear Hank's voice in his head, because there's definitely something going on with old Hank. And in the meantime, their little son, he's got a cartoon character who's kind of doing the same thing to him, manipulating him and telling him to do certain things and kind of manipulating him to do these things, even though he knows they're not right and he doesn't really want to. And they both seem to be descending into madness. Now, they're about halfway through, there is going to be this fantastic twist when it comes to the wife that it changes the whole book in a good way. And yeah, and that is going to lead us to some very twisted, very dark revelations and things about not only this house, but the guy that sold it to them, something to do with his wife, something to do with Handyman Hank there, something to do with the character on their son's screen. It's just a full-on blast. This book is a lot of fun to read as this man goes down this rabbit hole of home improvement hell. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It is bloody, it is gory. At the end, it's going to get just extremely weird, out there, and creepy. You definitely have to read this one. It'll keep your attention. The pacing is excellent in here. There's always more and more horrors. Things just keep getting creepier and creepier and creepier, you know. And yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. I absolutely loved it again, and I highly recommend it to you, The Handyman Method. And there is a link down below where you can purchase your copy on Amazon. And next we have Rick Calhoun and the Town Full of Evil Cannibals by David Edward. That's a mouthful of a book, but the great thing about this one is not only is it fantastic, but it is absolutely free on Kindle. Not Kindle Unlimited. It's free for anybody. If you have a Kindle, if you have the Kindle app on your phone, laptop, tablet, what have you, you can go to the link in the description, pick this one up. It won't cost you a dime, and I highly recommend it. This is a Western horror. It's the first in a series of the Rick Calhoun series. And in this one, we're going to be introduced to the main character, Rick Calhoun. He's a rough, tough cowboy. He's been on the wrong side of the law for most of his life. He and his buddy, who recently passed away, had formed a bond. The only person he ever got along with, really. And one day he hears about a town the town sheriff just had been murdered, and he decides, what the heck? He's looking for revenge for the death of his partner. He thinks some of the people responsible are in this town, so he's going to go to this town, get the job of sheriff, ask the mayor if he can be the sheriff, because back in the old Western days, sometimes that's all you had to do, is show up and be willing to put on the badge, you know? And so he goes into this town, he gets the job as a sheriff, and now he finds himself for the first time on the right side of the law while he seeks his revenge against the people who killed his friend. But things are going to get much, much worse, because this town has secrets. This town has some weird people. It has a church that's really creepy with an even creepier pastor, minister, reverend that runs it. And things are just going to start happening that are almost beyond his capabilities. He didn't realize being a sheriff was going to be this hard in a small little sleepy town. Because it's one thing after the other that he has to intervene in. He meets more and more of the people who live there who are just, like I said, man, they're just weird and kind of out there, and he doesn't know what to make of it. And then, of course, once the secrets are revealed and they decide they've had enough of his meddling, yeah, that's where all the good cannibal stuff is going to come into play, because they worship a god that is not quite holy. Let's put it that way. And pretty soon he's going to find himself battling these evil cannibals with a whole town full of them. In the meantime, trying to run away from two Texas Rangers who happen to show up in town. Come to find out they're looking for him from a wanted poster, but because he's changed, he's shaved, he has a haircut, he looks presentable, they don't recognize him right away. But they're sniffing around. He's got to deal with that. He's got to deal with all this strange things these townspeople are doing, and play his role as a sheriff. And then in the meantime, you got this this religious aspect that just takes a very wrong turn, and things are going to just go off the cliff from there. It's a very exciting, action-packed book. It doesn't linger. Again, just like with the other ones, man, the pacing on this book is exactly where it needs to be, in my opinion. It keeps your attention, makes you want to keep reading, and the bonus for this one is that it's absolutely free right now on Kindle. I can't recommend it enough. Rick Calhoun and the Town Full of Evil Cannibals. Go ahead and pick it up at the link in the description. All right, and I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. That is always appreciated. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.